Helsinki's parks were home to huts and tent towns in 2008, situated in between trees. Makeshift dwellings had been built by homeless people in the centre of Finland's capital city. They were subject to bad weather. Today, the situation is quite different. As anyone who has lately travelled to Europe will confirm, homelessness has become an epidemic, but Finland is the only country defying the trend. Remarkably, there is a decrease in homelessness. In this video, we will answer the following questions. How have the Finns accomplished this? And when practically no one has to live on the streets anymore, how does society change? To begin with, let's go through a quick overview of the current situation. It's unbelievable that while the number of homeless individuals in Europe has been rising dramatically in recent years, Finland is the only member state of the EU that has virtually eradicated the issue. In Finland, there are currently only about 3,600 homeless people, and the goal is for long-term homelessness to disappear by 2027. It is expected to disappear in Helsinki, the capital, by 2025. Finland has been making investments in the building, upkeep and acquisition of welfare housing for many years, with the abolition of homelessness being a shared goal of all governments, left and right. More than 8,000 residences have been built for the homeless in recent years. The good news is this is actually bearing fruit. It's amazing how the percentage of people without a roof over their heads decreased by 40% in the capital city alone between 2019 and 2022. In the 1980s, the first calls for paying more attention to the homeless emerged. An estimated 20,000 Finns were without a place to live at the time due to the nation's severe economic situation. In order to avoid freezing during the winter, several of them slept in trash cans. The administrations of Finland have worked to lower the number of homeless people since the 1980s. Temporary shelters were constructed. Long-term homeless people were still excluded though. Because there were insufficient emergency shelters, many impacted individuals were unable to leave homelessness because they were unable to find employment without a residential address. They were unable to obtain housing without a job as well. It was a never-ending cycle. They also had trouble submitting applications for social services. People who were homeless overall found themselves in a trap. Undoubtedly, the fact that Finland's government has prioritized ending homelessness at a national level is one of the reasons the country has made such progress in doing so. The administration of Helsinki originally included the eradication of homelessness in its 1987 program. Almost all governments have since allocated large sums of money to this goal. Yet, a decade or so ago, observers noted that while the overall rate of homelessness was dropping, long-term homelessness was not. It was necessary to take a fresh look at the issue and adopt new thinking. But before we get onto it, if you like the video so far, please consider liking and subscribing to our channel. 4 experts chosen by the Ministry of the Environment concluded that housing first was the best course of action. They noted that arranging housing is not a prerequisite for solving social and health problems. Rather, housing is a need that will make it possible to address a homeless person's other issues as well. This led to the creation and implementation of the Finnish national program to decrease long-term homelessness in 2008. The initiative was committed by Helsinki and 9 other Finnish cities. The local governments and non-profit organizations, such as the Y Foundation, joined forces with the Ministry of the Environment to oversee its execution. Actually, the Finnish government started putting the Housing First idea into practice in 2008 as part of a new policy for the homeless. This policy is the opposite of traditional homeless aid, where it's usually expected of homeless people to first obtain work and overcome any addictions or psychiatric problems. It is only then that they get help finding a place to live. On the other hand, Housing First goes the other way. Homeless people are given apartments without any requirements. Social workers offer general counseling services and assist individuals with social benefit applications. It is simpler for individuals impacted to obtain employment and take care of their bodily and emotional health in such a fresh, safe environment. Also, one of those objectives was to build 1,250 new houses, including supported houses for renters with their own leases and 24-hour care from trained workers, in order to reduce the number of long-term homeless people by half. The outcome is striking. Thanks to Housing First, 4 out of 5 homeless people will be able to maintain their apartments for an extended period of time and lead more stable lives. Finland received 4,600 new dwellings through the Housing First program in the past 10 years, though the initiative might reduce the number of long-term homeless individuals to less than 1,000 by 2019, there were still roughly 1,900 people living on the streets in 2017. Nevertheless, there were enough places for them in emergency shelters so that they would no longer have to sleep outside. The current system of homeless shelters was phased away at the same time. Eliminating the old way of thinking about homelessness was another aspect of this. The concept of unconditional housing proved difficult for some of the NGO's members to accept. Additionally, several staff members found it difficult to refuse to force tenants who struggled with drugs or alcohol to give up before being assigned a place to live. From 2008 to 2015, the number of long-term homeless individuals in Finland decreased by 1,345 individuals, or 35%. It was cut in half in certain cities. It's important to mention that the idea underlying the new method was not novel. In the US, it was already being used cautiously as a component of the Pathways model, which was developed in the 1990s. The determination to implement the Housing First plan nationally set the Finnish approach apart and made it historic. Actually, the Finnish government understood, first of all, that if they were interested in eliminating homelessness, they had to work in an entirely distinct way. In the meantime, from the start, there was a national consensus that the issue had reached a critical stage, and they made the decision to take action as a country. Talking about reducing homelessness, we should give you some insights about the Y Foundation. In fact, NGOs like the Y Foundation are those who give those in need housing. They purchase apartments on the private housing market, handle the building themselves, and remodel pre-existing apartments. There are 1 or 2 rooms in the apartment. Furthermore, in order to provide long-term accommodation, former emergency shelters have been transformed into apartments. The state provides the NGO with reduced loans so that it can purchase homes. Furthermore, the state pays social workers who assist the homeless and prospective tenants. On the other hand, when the NGO purchases apartments on the private housing market, the Finnish lottery helps it. Additionally, the Y Foundation often obtains bank loans. The rental money is then used by the NGO to pay back the loans. When visiting Rukila, an assisted housing unit outside of Helsinki that the Y Foundation took over in 2011, it became clear how successful the Finnish strategy is. In fact, it is currently home to 20 people. Every resident has a contemporary flat that is completely furnished. Additionally, there is a sizable common space where people may prepare meals, watch TV, or just relax. Now, you must be thinking that all this housing policy is costly for the government. That's true, but homelessness has proven to be more costly. There is no denying that it costs money to build dwellings for people. As part of the Housing First programme, €270 million have been spent on the building, acquisition and refurbishment of homes over the last 10 years. Juha Kakinen notes that this, however, is significantly less than the price of homelessness itself. Because emergencies occur more frequently when people are in emergency situations, accidents, injuries, and malfunctions. More frequently than not, the judicial, medical, and police departments must intervene, which is expensive. Housing First is less expensive in contrast to tolerating homelessness. The state now spends €15,000 less per year on each homeless individual than it did previously. In addition, Juha Kakinen, coordinator of the Y Foundation, notes in a recent interview that the financial gains may be considerably greater. When a homeless person finds permanent housing, resources for shelters and programs are also released. Furthermore, those who were homeless in the past eventually become taxpayers once more and are able to support the system on their own. To sum up, naturally, success is not guaranteed. It's particularly challenging to reach homeless women in particular. In fact, they conceal their emergency position more often. They stay with friends or acquaintances more often and are not homeless as often. Other nations, like Britain, where the issue has also escalated to crisis levels, have been inspired by Finland's success to implement their own programs that are based on the Finnish Housing First model. That might work, but only in situations where there is a kind of widespread decision to finding a solution that Finland has demonstrated. Thanks for watching till the end. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons to receive more content. See you in the next video.